What's good, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the 4-2-3-1 formation guide. This is something what I did quite a lot over the last year and also the year before that. Like FIFA 19, FIFA 20, I've always done like different formation guides to basically help you guys understand the formation a little bit more and what to look for when you're looking for certain players and certain decisions and stuff. So yeah, before we get into that though, hit the subscription button if you're new around here. Hit the notification bell so you know when I am uploading. I try and upload every day at the moment, at least 5 times a week though is the minimum aim. Leave a like and leave a comment of what your favourite formation is in FIFA 21. Currently for me it's 4-2-3-1, but that could be changing for the upcoming weekend leagues. But I'll go into more detail regarding that, maybe like different foot champs videos or custom tactics videos. But let's get into the 4-2-3-1 formation guide. So let's get into the 4-2-3-1 formation guide. This is the one with the 3 cams, not the one with the wide. I'm not a fan of that one personally. I think it's too defensive and just, you know, too passive. Of course, if that's how you want to play the game, then not a problem. But I think the 4-2-3-1 with the 3 cams is the more meta, more most overpowered formation. I'm not really too sure what the best formation is this year. I'm actually thinking we've got quite, I guess, lucky in the sense of that this year maybe there's more than just one formation or 2 formations. I think 4-2-3-1 is really good, 4-4-2 is really good, 4-1-2-1-2 narrow is really good, and there's also other formations like 4-2-2 and so on are also very good to look at. So obviously I'll be talking about them formations in different videos, but today I want to give you the 4-2-3-1 formation guide and basically explain what I'm looking for in different players and different things. But of course this is my pay to win team. I think last 2 weekends we got 28-2 and 27-3. Don't want to talk about it, totally honest with you. That's why I'm kind of debating to try a different formation out, because I want to change my play style up anyway coming into this FIFA competitive season. But I'm still a big fan of 4-2-3-1. I still think it's very meta and very structured in the way you want a 4-2-3-1 to be. Also do this on my Road to Glory team. My Road to Glory team, we got 25-4. We bottled Elite 1 on that. But so these tactics, and I'm not even going to really explain like the main tactics, but it's more so like what I'm looking for in the team and what tactics might suit you better. That's the idea around these formation guides. Even though I'm going to give you what I use, I'm also going to give you ideas what to use for yourself, because you might play completely different to me. But yeah, let's talk about the 4-2-3-1 and what makes it so good before we get into obviously the tactics. So what's the best thing about 4-2-3-1 in my opinion is having the central cam also and the wide players in the attack, but then in the defense we've got 2 CDMs and obviously the back line of 4. So in theory we've got a really structured team. You know, we've got players in every like sort of line as such when it comes to like positioning. So we're not going to be ever worried when it comes to the defensive side or when it comes to the attacking side. We're always going to have options on both sides, especially with 4-2-3-1. Previous years, last year, the cams used to drop really deep. I wouldn't say the cams dropped too deep this year compared to previous years, even with comeback, but they still do give you that help here and there, you know, on the wings. So obviously if you're struggling to defend on the wings, maybe a formation like 4-2-3-1 could help you a lot, because obviously you get that extra support in the cam rolls, in the wide cam rolls. But what makes 4-2-3-1 just a little bit better for me compared to like a 4-4-2 or something like that is actually for the attack. I do like to have the whip sort of play, you know, the wing play, but also have that central cam. Obviously you can use 4-3-3, the 4th variation, but I think that's way too attacking. I don't really like the starting positioning of the right wing and left wing. I think they're too wide and too far forward up. With the right cam and left cam, they sort of sit like just in a medium line in between a right mid and a winger sort of position. So that's why I sort of like to use 4-2-3-1 and that such. So if you're looking for something what maybe you're using 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 variations, and you're like, you know what, they are too wide and not sitting in narrow enough, they're not helping me when I got the ball into my striker, have a little look at this formation, because this might help you out with that. But the main thing for me is that having that central cam in the build-up play, you know, coming out of defense, looking for that cam and then going wide, or going from wide and then coming into the cam, into the striker. There's a lot of variations what you can do with the build-up and sort of attack you can do with 4-2-3-1. But let's get into the custom tactics, instructions, and that what I do suggest you guys to use. So as you guys will know, I think last time you saw my video, my custom tactics, this was 5-5, 5-5, balanced, with, I think, like, anyway, I'm not going to go into that actually. Main reason I was going to go about that what I was using was because I am currently testing a few things out right now. I wanted to try like a tighter narrow and some different instructions and that. But what I was using previously, if you guys haven't seen my custom tactics, is literally 5-5, 5-5. Keep it balanced, keep it basic, because I said this year I want to keep things standard. I feel like when I'm changing up things way too much, like maybe the consistency with the formation disappears because I'm adding different instructions and stuff and so on. But let's talk about the different defensive styles and so on. So as I mentioned, the 4-2-3-1 is really good for the defensive sort of end. And that's because we've got the 2 CDMs. I think if we have it here, we have the 2 CDMs, the back line of 4, and as I mentioned, quite often the cams will sort of drop a little bit deeper, especially the Ram and Lamb will sort of have you on the wing back sort of situation. So that's what makes obviously the 4-2-3-1 really good defensively. But of course we can do instructions and set up the team so it actually makes it a little bit more effective and a little bit more stronger. But you know, the thing, I feel like if you're going to use 4-2-3-1, you've got to be wary that you sometimes will have to play a little bit slower, I would say is the key thing, because 4-4-2, 4-1-2-2, you can go really fast, you can tiki-taka with the strikers, ping it wide and, you know, go from there. With 4-2-3-1, I feel like it's a lot more structured. That's why I say a lot about this formation. It's a structured formation from the defense to the attack to the build-up and everything. It's all very structured, you know. You can't do anything crazy with it really too much, you know if somebody's going down to the like right wing, he's probably going to play into the cam because the cam just gives you that option there, you know. It's just little things like that before 4-2-3-1. Like, but for example, if they use 4-4-2, maybe if they go down the wing, you get completely different runs and so on. But so yeah, what I suggest for defensive styles is balance, or I'm seeing a lot of people use pressure on heavy touch and press after possession loss. I think a lot of pros, like I don't know if you guys know, Jazz, who used to play for West Ham last year, great player. He's been hitting some decent little weekend league records, and he's been using, I think, press after possession loss. Some people using pressure on heavy touch as well. Good options if you want to be a bit more aggressive. If you can master them sort of pressing styles, you are going to get a lot of decent results from that, because I think in weekend league a lot of people play scared and nervous and stuff like that. So if you go and get into their face at the start of the game, you know, and show them like, you know what, I'm going to be in your face, I'm going to pressure, you're going to make mistakes. Of course, if you get the ball more often, especially in their half, you're going to create chances. So that's something to consider if you are more wanting to maybe change up the way you're playing. You want to be a bit more of an aggressor really when it comes to your play style. For me though, I keep it on balance, mainly because I want a bit of everything really. I feel like my manual press is pretty decent. Of course it can improve, but I think in the general play of actually knowing who to press, where to press, I'm quite, I would say kind of like, I wouldn't say clueless. Clueless is the wrong word, but you know, I'm quite a risk taker when it comes to that pressing style. I'll pull out anyone, anywhere, just to try and, you know, squeeze them and press them. And I think that's the best thing about 4-2-3-1, because you've got them players in all sorts of positions. You always will have that cover. So let's say if they're on the wing, I zip my wing back onto them, try and press them, really squeeze them. Obviously, I'm going to have that space where my wing back just leaves. But often your CDM will sort of slot in behind your wing back and collect that sort of the ball in that area. So that's why I constantly like to have like balance. Width wise, I would say go between 4 to 6. It really depends how you want to set up your team. I tried 4 personally. I'm not too sure on it because your team obviously sits a little bit more narrow, and it's quite easy to go down the wings, and it's easy to go down the wings how it is. So that's something I'm sort of testing out at the moment really when it comes to defensive styles, because I'm not really too happy when once they got past my press, what's happening in my own half of the defensive style. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're looking at the whips. So yeah, if you're struggling down the wing, maybe up your whip to like a 6 or a 5. But if you're like, you know what, I can defend the wings perfect, I know how to defend that, but I want my team to be a little bit more compact in the middle when they come into the strikers, look to go for like a 4. But if you want a bit of everything, 5 is also a decent mark. Depth, if you're going to be using balance, I would say look between 4, 5 or 6. And that's because you still want to be able to press on balance. You don't want to just, because you're on balance, you know, go, okay, I'm going to defend in my own half. You don't really want that sort of situation. So a lot of people will constantly use 6 on balance because obviously they can still press high and their team's still at a higher sort of positioning on the pitch. So keep that into mind, I guess, when you're like picking your depth. If you're maybe like, okay, I'm using press on heavy touch or press up with possession loss, Of course, if you're using them, your team's going to be more aggressive. So once they've got past that initial press, your team, where do you want your team to be set up? Do you want them to be all on the halfway line and like pressing up high? So if you do, obviously look to go like for a sit step. If you don't, you want to be, like, okay, if you get past that press, I want my team to then back off and drop off into sort of a more conservative, I think is the right word, sort of area. So look to go for like a 4 depth for that. But for me, I like to just keep it basic at the moment, balance 5-5. But as I mentioned, I am testing a few things out, as you did see with my custom touches right there before we got into this. Offensive styles, I think you can really use all of these. You got balance, long ball, fast build up, possession. I think it really depends how you want to play and how fast you want to play. As I said, I think with 4-2-3-1, it's a very possession-based formation. A lot slower, a lot structured, well structured as I mentioned before. So keep that in mind. So, okay, 4-2-3-1, yes, it's better for that, but can I make this formation into maybe a more aggressive formation? Long ball does that quite often, in my opinion. Long ball, the sort of runs you get are super aggressive. It's kind of like fast build-up, but named differently as in a long ball. I would say maybe the difference between long ball and fast build up is like your wing back positioning. In fast build up, I think your wing backs push up a lot more than if you was using long ball. I know a few pros are testing out long ball this year, but it really depends really how you want to play. I would say the main three though are possession, balance and long ball. Fast build up's like that low key, that one, like when you need everything to sort of go your way. That's what you would do. But yeah, it all depends really how you want to play it, as I mentioned. Faster, I would say long ball, balance, a bit of everything is obviously, and then possession if you want to go super slow. And then width wise, I'm sort of testing out with a 4 width. I'm not really too sure on it yet. I think the runs this year, even though they've improved them as such, around the edge of the box, I'm not really too happy with what I'm seeing. So I am trying a few different instructions, widths and players in the box and so on to see if I can get anything sort of the right way. But if you want to play it wider, if you know you're really good down the wing, go for about a 6 width. If you want a bit of everything, 5. And if you want to be a little bit tighter, a little like ping pong, tiki taka, maybe try and make 4-1-2-1-2 into like a 4-2-3-1. Go for a little bit of a tighter width, maybe like a 3 or a 4. Players in the box, I'll be totally honest with you, I don't get players in the box. I feel like they do similar stuff no matter if I'm on this or this. At the end of the day, it's something maybe you need to test out just to see where you prefer your players to sort of position. The normal amount, once again, is between 4, 5 and 6. I think like the standard amount, no matter what sort of tactic you're using, is literally 4, 5 or 6 on this width, depth, players in the box, so yeah, I would look to go in between that range. Don't go, well, if you want to try other stuff, go ahead, but I think maybe like 4, 5, 6 is going to be your decent marks. For me, stay back while attacking is quite crucial on the right back and left backs, unless you need them to come forward if you're behind. But I think stay back, right back and left back, as I mentioned, this game's very through ball based. You need them wing backs to give you them constant options for the defensive side when they're attacking you down the wings. So having them stay back, obviously they're going to always be in that position to defend. On the CDMs, obviously you've got quite a few different options. So go back to all the basic stuff. You've obviously got the defensive behaviours, cut passing, man mark, balance, and then on the attacking support you've got stay back, get forward, drop in between defenders, and also defensive positions, cover centre. Another thing what I'm sort of testing out is defensive positions, cover wing and also cover centre. I want to test that out. I want to see where certain players are running if I use wing compared to centre. I know previous years, of course, I think it was better to use centre, but with how heavy base wing is, maybe it might be worth having cover wing on, but that's something I am testing myself. But if you need that extra support on the wing, maybe look to have cover wing. Defensive behaviours, none of these really are standing out to me. Cut passing, man mark, I wouldn't say anything is really too crazy. I've used balance for basically both of the weekend leagues. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything really there what's going to be like, do this. It really comes down to preference. If you want maybe your team to be a bit more aggressive, I would say cut passing lanes is really good for that. Man mark, I would say it's more of a passive option. And then balance is obviously a bit of everything. A lot of people in their attacking supports, what they usually do on their CDMs is have stay back while attacking on both. Some people like to have balance on one of your more attacking ones. A lot of people have like Pogba or Kevin De Bruyne there. So if you do have, or obviously for me, I have Hullet. If you do have that, get that extra man in the attack, you know, that deeper run. It's usually quite useful, especially if you're like, let's say you're holding the ball through the middle with your Neymar, and you're like, you know what, I've got my Ram and my Lam, they're getting marked by their wing backs, my strikers getting marked by both their defenders. Do you know what would really be useful? Is one of them DMs doing an overlap and run for me to give them an option, and then 1-2 it and so on. And that's what, obviously, if you have it on balance, will give you. So yeah, I would recommend having one of them on balance. I wouldn't say both, because you can get countered very easy if you have both of them on there. As I mentioned, a lot of people just have stay back if they want to have a more structured, more basic setup. In the attack, you have a few different options in the cams. You've got defensive supports, support and crosses, position and freedom, and interceptions. Interception you keep usually basic, position and freedom. On the wide players, usually keep it basic, but support on crosses, you would put get in the boxes for crosses. As you guys have seen, the RBX or the RB square. No, the RBX or the R1 square is really good this year with the overlapping runs on the wing backs from your wingers. So when getting the box for crosses, obviously you're going to always have that run to do that whip into the back post, and that's why a lot of people are using getting the box for crosses this year. So definitely I would recommend have a little look into that. Cam, the central one, I would say is very basic. You can try free roam. I was trying it, as you saw a second ago, but I'm not really too sure on it. As I said, I kind of want to keep everything basic this year, because the more I change it up, I feel like my team's not going to be as structured, and it's a little bit more confusing to actually get a sort of pattern where you're constantly wanting to use. So yeah, of course it's up to the user though. If you want, you know, you go, you know what, maybe I want my Neymar to be a little bit more mysterious, I guess is the word. You know, where do I want him to go? Maybe free roam will give me a different sort of look into how I want my team to go. And I think free roam works really well if you've got balance on one of your CDMs, and then yeah, so definitely have a little look at free roam into your thing. And then, as I said, once again, getting the box crosses. On the striker, there's a few different options. Last year, this thing right here, what you see, drift wide target man, was my favorite by a long way last year, but I'm finding the positioning of the drift wide and the target man this year completely different to last. A lot of the times what I like to do was, let's say if I've gone down the wing, I come into my cam, usually your striker will, last year anyway, will sort of be on that last touch, and then he will peel away and give you an easy option to pass into, and then you can scoop, turn, and shoot basically. But this year, a lot of times they're going behind the defender, not really coming back on side, which is a bit weird. So that's something I've got to look into if I am going to carry on using 4-2-3-1. As I mentioned, I'm not really too sure if I am going to use this, but I thought it'd be worth me mentioning and talking about this formation whilst I know a little bit basically about everything really. When it comes to 4-2-3-1, drift wide, stay central. It really depends. I think some people might go stay central this year just because you've got the wing play anyway through your wingers with your Ram and your Lambs anyway. Attacking runs, as I mentioned, you got getting behind, target man, false 9. I wouldn't use them false 9, but you could try getting behind or target man as an option for your strikers. But if you want a bit of everything, obviously just have a mixed attacks. That's how I am looking into the 4-2-3-1 right now. As I mentioned, there's a lot of things that you can change up and make it a little bit more wild, and maybe change it up to suit your style. As I mentioned, the defensive sort of size and the attacking sort of size and your custom tactics. I wouldn't say the instructions are too important. I would say it comes more into these tactics right here, what sort of will define how your team plays in game. So yeah, hopefully you guys have liked this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. Peace.